It's a beautiful day. To anyone that is discouraged, if you're patient enough, you can fight that discouragement to an extreme degree. You kind of have to put yourself in the mindset of a monk meditating. Discouragement can be discouraged. Fear can be frightened. I learned this from first-hand experience. With enough patience, entities that embody these negative things can grow weary and grow tired and give up. There are going to be some that say, demons are just metaphorical. It's just aspect of the mind. And most definitely it can be. But aside from that, actual external people, entities, beings that have consciousness, they see us. They're in the upper, the higher dimensions. They look down and they can see us. They don't even need help being invisible. They automatically are. You know, humans are like cavemen, spiritually speaking, mentally speaking. We're like cavemen. The more egotistical ones out there think we're the center of the universe when we're not. It's the same mindset of the ancient belief that the earth was the center of the universe and everything revolved around the earth. And then they peered into the skies and saw through telescopes that, hey, the earth isn't the center of the universe. The sun is the center of the universe. Yes, that bird is quite loud. But clearly the sun is not the center of the universe either. But they had to make baby steps to come to the realization that, we're in a galaxy, and that galaxy is not the center of the universe either. That bird's very loud. One time I whistled back to a bird, my own particular whistle, and it copied my whistle, and it took my whistle and it repeated it. Maybe that whistle was repeated 1,000 times over the space of many years. Birds are very ingenious. But when I was poltergeist attacked in the year 2011, this being in reality existed. It was a real being that jumped on top of me, grabbed my throat, my mouth, and my tongue with 3 hands, seemingly. I couldn't see it. It wasn't sleep paralysis. I could get up and flail around. And yes, I did try to push it off. When you try to push off an entity, like a spirit that's jumping on top of you, and manifesting and materializing to the point where it can do something physically and manipulate our world, but it doesn't materialize to the point where you can see it. It's still optically invisible. I couldn't push it off. Trying to push it off, I do believe I felt some extremely faint resistance, like charged air. It's hard to describe. It wasn't like putting my hand through electricity. When the spirit walks through me and walks through anyone, I guess if you don't have that ability to sense it, you're not going to know it even happened. But when they walk through me, spirits, it feels like an electrical charge walking through me, an electrical entity walking through me. But when I'm trying to push it off, it didn't. My hand didn't feel that same electricity. So they can definitely phase in and out to a really peculiar degree, scientists know nothing of these entities living in a higher dimension. So it seems like I'm talking about unicorns and fairies, leprechauns and gnomes to an atheist. An atheist is going to be so... they're going to think it's so out there, they won't even grasp the concept. Because atheists, extreme diehard ones, have been preconditioned. They've been conditioned to immediately reject even the concept of spirits. And I understand that. And I try to, kind of like a parent talking to a child, say, hey, I try to put it in their own words, their own way of communicating, and I try to simplify it and dumb it down. And people claim I'm dumb. People claim I'm an idiot. But after you ascend into the next life, into this dimension above us, you will see firsthand. So I don't really need to preach and prove it. I'm not under any burden of proof. If I want to prove something, it's for a personal reason. It's for myself. I want to prove it, but as a personal goal. Like, I want to get poltergeist activity on camera. I want to capture that. That would be a goal of mine, most definitely. A very odd goal, a peculiar goal, but for someone who witnessed it for 6 months in a row straight and didn't capture it due to many reasons, I don't regret not capturing it, because even someone like Dr. John Dee, who lived many, many hundreds of years ago, Dr. John Dee, he didn't film it. Cameras didn't exist. But he wrote many, 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 many journals of his communications with spirits, with the help of the spirit medium, Edward Kelly. Those journals detailed question and answer sessions that went on for as long as 12 hours in a day. And they weren't made up. They, in reality, happened. Communication between a spirit named Medini and Dr. John Dee did take place. Edward Kelly could see the spirit appearing in either a crystal ball, a black mirror, other forms of divination. I heard Nostradamus used a bowl of water. So any reflective surface can theoretically be used, but I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. You see, my communication took place when I was playing video games. I was playing Ultima Online out of, and this was after years after I quit. I played Ultima Online in 97 when it was brand new. 98, I quit. I came back in 99. I quit. I came back in 2001. I kept quitting because of the monthly fee of $9.99 was the original monthly fee. But during the Poltergeist attacks of 2011, I was pretty annoyed with the harassment, spirit harassment. I was so annoyed that I tried to comfort myself in any way. Like, I rented movies from Redbox as much as I could. Redboxes were fairly new back then, a novelty. And I re-downloaded Ultima Online. I even bought an account from someone. And I still had my old account, and I activated it, and I traded between my own two accounts. And to this day, I only have those two accounts, but I haven't logged in a long time. But back in 2011, I was just trying to relive the old times in a video game. And this demonic entity, this spirit entity, this poltergeist demon that actually existed and actually harassed me for 5.5 months in a row, every single day, knocking over objects every single day, to a violent degree, to an active degree. It was nothing like the movie Poltergeist. I witnessed zero levitation, so I didn't see stuff float around. Zero levitation. The entity merely knocked stuff over, like with its invisible hand, or if it kicked stuff over with its invisible foot. And I have something to talk about concerning their feet and their hands, and I'll mention that in the future. But I just wanted to mention this one little tidbit. I was playing Ultima Online on my laptop, and every single time I played Ultima Online, this video game, I don't play it anymore. I don't recommend playing it. It was very addictive. anyone can tell you it's a very addictive game. The demon, the poltergeist demon, would sit to my right, to the right of me. The right-hand corner of my bed was its corner. I've talked about this many times. It appeared via the corner of my room. It made very pronounced creaks. And some people have come to the conclusion, oh, you know, it's probably just settling of the house creaks. Well, when creak, 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 I can't do a creak impression very well. Very loud creaks would happen, and then he would proceed to walk around my room and kick and knock over objects. So feel free to explain that away. Most definitely, the most obvious explanation from an atheist's perspective is going to be something of the mind. I assure you, zero of the mind had anything to do with the literal encounter I had with a higher dimensional being. M theory, string theory, supports 11 plus dimensions. Why can't some of those dimensions be occupied by intelligent beings? I know of a first-hand personal fact they are. So what I was saying is I'm playing Ultima Online, playing the game. I only played it for literally a couple weeks, maybe a month. During the 6-month stay, I got bored of it pretty quickly, pretty fast, but when I did play it, the demon poltergeist sat to the right of me on either the box to the right of me or the computer tower, which I didn't use. I asked my brother, hey, I need my computer tower, and I never used it, but I had it there. The same computer tower I heard a screw picked up and dropped on, but I heard it creak and many more things. Anything in that corner was moved, but specifically I'm playing Ultima Online. I did have I had 3, I still have them to this day, 3 side tables. They all match. Looks like they're made in the 80s. Kind of a modern design. I would hear that creak every time. I would hear whatever is to the right of my bed, a box, that table, the tower, creak, and just sit and watch me play Ultima Online. He would just sit and watch me play. So it had the mentality of interest in watching me play a video game. I thought that was peculiar. It didn't seem to violently knock over stuff while I was playing the game. It probably liked that I was in a zombified state, like a dumbed down, like, ugh. It probably loved the fact that perhaps I was a little bit addicted to this video game, but I wasn't that addicted at that point because I only played it for a couple weeks, a month tops. I just wanted to relive the old days. I transferred all my stuff from the Great Lakes shard to the Atlantic shard because that's the only shard that had a few people, and that was in 2011. Now I'm sure the game is dead as a doornail, and I heard it's free to play now, but you can't use your bank account, which is impossible to play without a bank. But it's literal. Spirits literally exist. They don't appear to too many people. They don't appear to too many humans. Why is that? Ask them, but I wouldn't recommend you ask them. I wouldn't recommend any communication with spirits. Why don't they appear? Because they love the mythos that humans create. They love the urban legends. Now, if there's a case like Slender Man and horrific things happening because of people's belief in Slender Man, yikes. Don't believe in that. Although, any horrifically, extremely negative thing can definitely be invisibly inspired by negative entities, demons. But at the same time, you can't use demons as scapegoats. You can't say, oh, it was the demon's fault. Oh, it was the devil's fault. That goes into a huge circle of pushing your issues and your problems on an external force. But in my case, I can 100% say that I was attacked by a demon, personally, firsthand, let alone it tried to keep me up every single night for 6 months straight. I was late to work for 1 hour. I got to work 1 hour late on one occasion. The 2 years with perfect attendance was disrupted only one time. I was 1 hour late. I had such perfect attendance, I received attendance awards And the only thing that could stop me from having perfect attendance is a literal demonic entity, spirit entity, a poltergeist, knocking over objects all night. I would get up and kick it out of the room. I would say, get out of the room. Leave. I command you to leave. In the name of Jesus, leave. And he would leave every single time. He would come back 1 hour later every single time. But when I was late, remember 2 years straight I had perfect attendance. No one even noticed I was late. No one. When I got to my desk, started working 1 hour late, no one noticed. I could have easily, everyone's like, oh, hey, how's it going? They assumed I took a 15-minute break in the morning or something. No one noticed. I could have easily said the time clocks didn't work. So I suppose I was tempted to lie, but I didn't. I immediately said, oh, I'm 1 hour late. I apologize. My perfect attendance record is destroyed. No big deal, because by the time that happened, they did away with perfect attendance rewards. But I did get a couple $100 for a year and a half with perfect attendance. That's when they cut it off. A year and a half in, they stopped doing it. I only mentioned my poltergeist demon encounters with probably 3 to 4 employees, fellow employees. And one of those employees said when he was a child, he saw demons with not his good eye, but with his bad eye. He was blind in one eye. And so the eye that he was probably reliant on, his spirit eye, or in Adventure Time they make fun and they call it wizard eyes. Call it what you want, but it's a legitimate phenomenon. Phantom limbs, a phantom eye. He saw with his dead eye, but his living spirit eye, he saw demonic entities in his room. Pretty scary. He revealed that in confidence to me because I shared to him that a demon poltergeist is actively harassing me in my room. And I felt that was a blessing from on high, that out of the 4 people I mentioned it to, 3 were very skeptical, but one of them was that guy who, when he was a child, he said he saw negative entities. Clear as day. I forgot to ask him what they look like. It was such a sensitive subject, I forgot to ask him what they look like. I assumed they look like people. So that's one of the mythical tales you will hear, is demons look like this and that, and they can definitely shapeshift and appear as this and that, but I believe demonic entities look like human beings, exactly. Humanoids. 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, but they know the extent of the demonization that they as demons have had throughout the centuries, and so they have embraced these masks that have been either created by them or created by pop culture. It's really hard to say. Perhaps both. With the tail and the bat wings, or the multiple faces on their body, the hooved feet, the red skin, whatever has been talked about them, they embrace that. They embrace it. They almost, from what I can tell, just from piecing stories together, they almost each have their own avatar that they design themselves. Kind of like a video game. Kind of like a video game. Perhaps that's why that spirit was so interested in watching me play that video game. I don't know, but spirit entities do have a unique ability to shapeshift on the rare occasions they show themselves. Most people don't believe they exist because they haven't revealed themselves to most people. But I was able to overcome the spirit entity, the demon, the poltergeist that bothered me. I was able to ignore it. I ignored this spirit, even though it knocked over 10 to 20 objects a night. With the lights on or with the lights off, it didn't matter. With me standing there looking at it or me laying in bed, it didn't matter. It would still knock over objects. But I ignored it. like a monk, I just ignored it, treated it like it didn't happen. Probably for a good 1 month straight, I ignored any even acknowledgement of its existence. We're talking 10 to 20 objects knocking down every single night for a month straight, and I didn't acknowledge a single thing. So what I did is I enraged the entity so badly. It was so pissed at me that it jumped on top of me, grabbed my throat, grabbed my mouth, grabbed my tongue with seemingly 3 hands. So it could have been 2 entities. I believe it could have been they stacked on top of each other, possibly. I've talked about that in the past. But spirits exist. It's the reason why I spent over $1,000 on ghost investigating equipment, ghost hunting equipment. But I don't mean to hunt ghosts. I just want to collect some data. It's a pretty futile endeavor. I'm never going to be able to convince mainstream scientists, mainstream atheists, mainstream disbelievers in even the acknowledgement of the subject on spirits, and even opening their mind to the possibility that they exist. These spirits are pretty smart, all right? I probably built them up in a couple videos here and there. They have an advantage over us. They can see us, we can't see them, period. So if you live a life of disbelieving their existence from A to Z, they're going to take note of you disbelieving them from A to Z, and they're likely going to leave you alone. They're not going to bother you if you're an atheist. Yet an atheist would see that as an excuse from, they would say, a spirit-believing apologist. But they're smart. If these entities existed, put yourself in their shoes. And if one of their utmost goals was to not reveal themselves, except to a select few, they would not want to show themselves to an atheist. Why would they show themselves to a believer? Because the believer has the belief already. It doesn't change their perspective on the world. I suppose my perspective has changed after being harassed, but knowing they exist hasn't changed, because I already knew they existed before they bothered me. That would be my guess as to why they picked me. To torture me and harass me, though, it's quite interesting. I don't know. I mean, perhaps everyone is meant to be dealt a certain amount of pain and anguish in this life. Perhaps they saw that I had a lacking of pain and anguish, and so they wanted to make up for it. I have no idea. The karmic wheels of universal justice in the universe, I don't know. I can't even begin to give you an answer why they revealed themselves to me. I'm not in any way, shape, or form someone who is even remotely crazy, other than uploading videos to YouTube. To upload videos to YouTube, you do have to have an amount of, you're not afraid of the camera, but not being afraid of the camera and wanting to make a vlog or a blog with a video and post it, it doesn't mean you're crazy. Although, anything show business related, as removed from show business as YouTube is, anything show business related, people are going to be skeptical of your motives. Especially when you're talking about something spiritual. They're going to try to twist it and manipulate it as being something like a showbiz concoction that someone made up for views and likes. Nothing I've ever said concerning spirits has been for views or likes. Nothing. Nothing I've said concerning spirits has ever been made up, other than my recalling of true events that actually happened in my life, and other than trying to come to conclusions and try to figure out what happened. There's spirits all around us that don't reveal themselves. It's starting to rain. I'm going to have to end the video now, but I just wanted you to know, if you're discouraged and you ignore it, it does eventually go away. Perhaps after an encounter, but bam, it does go away eventually. You can out patience. You can get rid of fear. I have zero fear with staying at a haunted location in the middle of the night with zero lights on, looking at my surroundings with only night vision on my camera. 100% in the pitchness of black by myself in a place that I know is haunted. Zero fear. Why do I have that zero fear? Because of the 6 months of harassment that I had to go through in the year 2011. Zero fear. I could prove it. What haunted place should I go to? The only issue is I can't afford to go to these famous haunted places, but if I could, I would. If I could choose any haunted place to go to, I'd probably choose Scotland, Ireland, some haunted castles around that area. That would be my dream, to investigate places like that. Eventually I'm going to get what I consider to be enough data, enough evidence, and then I will stop the investigations. When will that be? I don't know. But I'm going to take breaks here and there. I do have 10 plus investigations, probably closer to 5, fully ready to go, just with a lot of editing time needing to be poured into them. Those episodes are coming soon. The last video I held on to for 6 months. And there's a lot of footage there's like an hour of GoPro footage of me seeing nothing and detecting nothing. I was going to speed that up, but the compiling process is so monotonous that it's so time consuming that I decided just to cut to the chase. There's the good footage. There it is. I am going back to that haunted antique mall, which is advertised as haunted on the flyer. I looked for the flyer, I couldn't find it. Perhaps I'll try to interview some employees next time. But I am still going to the Comedy Store in a few months. I don't know what the result of that will be. Probably no cameras allowed. I'll try to do some type of investigation with the Comedy Store, with the famous ghost Gus that haunts the place and has for a long time. Gus is probably a landlocked spirit. He's probably been there for 1,000 years. He's probably seen everything. He probably watches every single show. How they phase in and out of the dimensions is unknown to me. I've never been there. I can only grasp at the tiny bits of information that I know from firsthand observing and trying to use logic. But this realm of the higher dimensions is so unknown to mankind. That's all that anyone can do, is guess. I'm feeling some winds surround me. Perhaps that's a sign I need to go in. It's going to rain and thunder and lightning very soon. But until next time, I thank you for watching. This has been John Rasmus with Mysterialis. More episodes coming soon. Click like, comment critically or not, positively or not. I appreciate the comments. I have a Patreon. I have a Teespring. Check out my t-shirts. Until next time, this has been John Rasmus. Be seeing you.